Hello and welcome to another episode on Roscast. Welcome here once again. If you're a new listener, welcome. I hope that after listening to this episode, you will choose to subscribe. And if you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you are yet to subscribe as well, I hope you do. Today's episode is going to be as brief as possible. And I think in recent times, I've been quite intentional in making sure my episodes are not too long. And I don't have the intention to make that today's one. Let's just say today's episode is a special episode because it's towards the Easter celebration. The last time I did an Easter podcast was in or an Easter content probably was a quite while back. And I was reflecting on it and reflecting on, the way Jesus Christ related with people in his time. And long before this podcast was created, it came to my heart that it was something worth talking about. And so, Jesus Christ, he he not only fulfilled prophecy. Jesus Christ also related with man in a way that showed man how God wanted us to relate with him and with the world. And Jesus Christ showed us an example of that. And I believe that even though Jesus Christ never said, "Oh, I am affiliated to this political party or government," Jesus Christ was very interested in the events that were occurring in his time. Um, there's a passage in the Bible where the Pharisees were trying to rope Jesus into saying something wrong, and they were asking him, is it okay if we pay taxes to Caesar or if we pay our tax? And Jesus' response was, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto God what belongs to God. Jesus Christ paid his taxes, all right? So Jesus Christ was not affiliated with any political party, but he was very interested in what was happening in that time. And one of the major things Jesus Christ focused on was the leaders that were leading, how much of the right thing were they doing. It's also important to note that Jesus Christ was very big on justice. Jesus Christ talked about equity, he talked about doing the right thing. And for me, it's a reminder that as a Christian, I can't be a Christian alone without standing on the side of justice. If Jesus Christ stood on the side of justice, it means that as a Christian, if I'm going to represent Jesus, I'm going to also be the kind of person that stands on justice. We see Jesus Christ, sharing so much parables about forgiveness, about, being the kind of person that shows compassion to their neighbors. We see the Good Samaritan talked about that. And, Jesus Christ showed us that to love God is to also love people. To love God is also to treat people right. A Christian is not the kind of person that will take advantage of anyone. Christianity is not about taking advantage. Christianity is about how can I be a plus in whatever society that I am? How can I show people that you can love God and that love for God reflects in the decisions you make, not just for yourself but for people around you? So I say Jesus Christ was a man of God and Jesus Christ was also a man of the people, because priority was God, and then that priority reflected on how he treated the people that he encountered. Everyone that Jesus Christ met was changed for the best, was changed for the better, all right? And Jesus Christ never met people and left them the same way he met them. There was always something that Jesus Christ changed in the lives of the people that he met. And Jesus Christ was very interested in the welfare of the people that he met, of the people that he spoke to. One of the passages in the scriptures, in the Gospels, we see that Jesus Christ has spoken. After he had spoken the Beatitudes, he had preached for a very long time. And then he was like, wait, we are away in the wilderness. These people, they must be hungry. And then Jesus Christ asked his disciples, like, how many people do we have here? What do we have to give them to eat? And the disciples like, man, what do you mean? Like, how are we going to feed thousands of people here? Where are we going to get the resources? And Jesus Christ is like, what do we have? And they bring bread and fishes, and then Jesus prays on this food, and then it gets multiplied and the people are fed. And one of the things that touches me about that passage was that Jesus Christ was not just so big on, oh, I'm preaching the word, these people should hear the word. He was also very interested in their physical needs. And I remember after reading that passage some years ago, it actually comforted me to know that although God really wants me to develop and to grow in my spiritual walk, he also is also interested in my physical needs. My physical need is not a taboo, is not minimal, it's major, is important, and God is also interested in that. So, as a Christian living in a society that will be ruled by politics, you can't dissociate yourself from being aware of what occurs. But you have to be able to know that whatever side you are going to pick has to be the side that stands on what is right. Among Jesus' disciples, there were different groups of people, and there was a particular disciple called Simon the Zealot. And when you read back on the Zealot, they were a faction that kind of were created to fight against Roman Empire. And we see that they were very, very like militant kind of people. And we see that at different points where Jesus Christ was being dragged into, because they thought that Jesus Christ was going to come and liberate them from the Roman Empire by, being dramatic and all. But Jesus Christ's focus was first, do you even know the right way to think? It's not even about becoming a political leader. Do you know the right way to think? And we see Jesus Christ taking his time over the course of 3 years that he spent preaching the word of God. He spends time to teach, his disciples and anyone who cared to listen what it truly meant to know God. You know, Jesus Christ also gives example on what it means to be a leader, and he says that, as a child of God, you cannot lead people the way the world leads them. You can't lead people by demanding from them to serve you. You can't lead them by compelling them, by burdening them. You lead by example. You lead by service. You live by laying down your life. You live by making sure that whoever is under your care is taken care of. Whoever is under your watch is protected. And we see Jesus Christ showing his example over and over again with his disciples. So, as this is Easter, we get to remember and understand the beauty and the power in the death and resurrection of Christ. For me, I see it as a great reminder that as a Christian, I have a responsibility to make sure that whenever I want to make decisions in my environment, it has to be on the side of justice. It has to be the side of what is right. And how are you going to know what is right? How are we actually going to know what is right? So we will know what is right by actually knowing what God's heart is about different situations. Um, since this first few months of this year, we can see that a lot of things are happening around the world that have been quite dramatic, and I think just a few countries have been spared of this drama. But if you're actually very intentional and aware of what's going on in the news, you realize a lot has been going on, and it demands that you can't be on the fence. You have to pick a side. There's no choice of being on the fence. And let me even dare say that as a Christian, you can't be on the fence. I will put it that way. You cannot be on the fence because Jesus Christ always was very clear on where he stood when it came to what it meant to do the right thing. Yeah, Jesus Christ never said, oh, I'm a political party, because he knew the heart of the people he was dealing with then. But he always pointed people back to what God's original thoughts what God's original design was meant to be. And I think I've repeated it a lot of times, but it always pointed back to Jesus. God would always stand on justice. What does it mean to be just? What does it mean to be fair? What does it mean to do right? What does it mean to stand on what is good, what is righteous, what is holy? It's actually by knowing what God's thoughts are in in different situations. It's by analyzing and asking, has this decision, or at this decision, are they going to create life? Are they going to create growth? Are they going to create healing? Are they going to create um, um, a wholesome place? We can see that everyone that Jesus Christ met, including those that had been dejected and rejected by society, when they met Jesus, they were able to, gain an identity that kept them in a place of being an addition to their society. I always say this because I really use type of phrases like addition, growth, because whatever God does will not just stop with us. Whatever God does is going to be a plus, is going to be a growth, and it's not about our selfish interest. It's about the fact that through us, other people too can be blessed, can be encouraged, can be given hope for life. To stand on the place of justice is to stand on the side of hope, is to stand on the side of faith, is to stand on the side of equity, is to stand on the side of um, doing what is right. That is what it means to stand on justice, I believe, and that is what I strongly believe in. So, as we celebrate the death and resurrection of Christ, where do you really stand? Have people been able to meet Jesus by meeting you? And like I said earlier, and I'll emphasize, as a Christian, you can't take advantage of people. You can't take advantage of people, and you can't be on the side of people that take advantage of people. Well, I do know that a lot of topics are quite sensitive, and even as one encounters the news and takes note of the politics that occurs in our own countries and in the countries around the world, it's also important to know that a lot of things happening are also a fulfillment of prophecy, and it's just a reminder that one has to be very sensitive of location as well, and of the impact that we are making, even in as small as it could be. With that being said, I shared a mini book um, titled And They Met Jesus. It is called Out from a Bigger Book, and I talked about a few characters in the Bible and their experience of meeting Jesus. It's a fictionalized share, so I fictionalized certain passages in the Bible. For the last, let's say, 5 years, I've been doing that, and I've learned. It has been interesting fictionalizing stories in the Bible. Of course, not taking the context of what the story in the Bible really means. So, in order to get that, I'll leave the link in this podcast for you to get it and interact with it. Like I've already said in the past, you can always interact with me on the contact shared in this content, so that we could actually, if you want to give an idea or feedback, it can be gotten. So yeah, Jesus Christ was the man of the people because he was the man of God, and so he was a man of God, and he knew what the people needed because he knew who God was and what God needed. And also because he was God himself, so he knew the right, he knew what man needed, and that is why, in order for us to even know what God wants from our lives, we need to also have a relationship with God as well. And many times I've said in different podcasts that, and whenever I share my experience or thoughts, it has never come from a place like I know it all. I am on my journey, and I tell you that it has not been very easy. Being a Christian is beyond just like talking about the Bible or sharing your thoughts and ideas. It is a very practical experience. is being able to apply the things that you know in how you live. But at the same time, regardless of what my personal challenges may be, I've been trusting God to help me not to allow that to stop me from sharing when there is a need. Always reminding that it's just by God's grace that I'm able to share when there is, when I'm inspired. But yes, even as we enjoy this and reflect, this is a reflective moment. I pray that God will help us to stand on the right place. And if God ever puts you in a, in a big position, in a significant position as a leader or as someone that have to make certain important decisions, I pray that you would always remember to do what is right, as a reflection of your love for God, and that it doesn't come from a place of personal ambition or selfish interest, but that you remember that just as Jesus did, you too, wherever you are, you're a reflection of his sacrifice. Okay. With that being said, if this episode blessed you, do not hesitate to share it with someone, share your thoughts if there are. And yes, until next time on Rosecast, continue to stay safe and God bless. Bye bye. By the way, I hope this episode was not too long. Whatever you read, you reached to this point. Okay. Bye bye.